A very good morning, students. I am Rajni Gehlot, PGT English from Bhaurav Devras Saraswati Vidya Mandir. Students, today I am going to explain the chapter, the last lesson from class 12th book Flamingo. This is an irony that this is the first chapter of your book. The name of the chapter is the last lesson, which is written by the Alphonse Daudet. So Alphonse Daudet, he was a French novelist and a short story writer. And what is the background of this story? I'll tell you. This story set up in the days of Franco and Prussian War in 1870 to 1871. France was defeated by Prussia. In this chapter, there is description of the world war between Prussia and France. France was defeated by Prussia. Prussia के द्वारा फ्रांस पर विजय प्राप्त कर ली गई, and Prussia was then led by Otto von Bismarck. At that time, it was led by Bismarck, Prussian statesman and first chancellor of Germany. He was the first chancellor of the Germany. Prussia was then consisted of what now the nations of Germany, Poland and parts of Australia. At this time, this Prussia is the part of Australia. The story covers the times when French, and this story was written when French districts of Alsace and Lorraine were defeated by Prussia. Means they were under Prussia. And when what happened, जब इन दोनों के बीच में प्रूसिया और फ्रांस के बीच में युद्ध चल रहा था, तो जो फ्रांस के दो डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स थे एल्सेक एंड लॉरेन, ये प्रूसिया के अंडर में थे. उस समय जब विजय प्राप्त कर ली गई एल्सेक एंड लॉरेन पे, तो उन राज्यों डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स के साथ कैसा ट्रीट किया गया उनको. द लैंग्वेज जर्मन वॉज इम्पोज ऑन फ्रेंच पीपल एंड दे वर फोर्स्ड टू लर्न जर्मन लैंग्वेज एंड रेदर दैन टू लर्न देयर मदर टंग. उन्हें फोर्स किया गया कि उनको जर्मन लैंग्वेज सीखनी पड़ेगी, उन्हें अपने मदर टंग को गिव अप करना पड़ेगा, त्यागना पड़ेगा. पीपल वर डीपली शैटर्ड व्हेन दे केम टू नो एंड दे बिकेम वेरी सैड एंड दे हैव बीन शैटर्ड. They realized what they lost, and after the declaration of Berlin, they came to know, they realized that what have they been lost. उन्होंने क्या खो दिया है, उनको इस बात का realization हुआ. So this is in this story there is a theme of linguistic chauvinism. Linguistic chauvinism, what is? Taking pride in one's language. We should take pride in our language. हमें अपनी language पर हमेशा pride करना चाहिए. We should not feel ashamed. We should learn other language also, but we should not avoid our mother tongue. And we came to know the importance of our mother tongue with the help of this chapter, the last lesson. हम इसके द्वारा जानेंगे कि अपनी मदर टंग की क्या इम्पोर्टेंस होती है जब हमको इस बात का पता चलता है कि हम उसे हमेशा के लिए खोने वाले हैं. So there is the scene 1 which started from a small student who is the narrator of this chapter also. The name of that student is Franz. He is a small boy, and that day he was late for school and he was given homework by his master French teacher whose name was Mr. M. Hamel. He gave him homework, and what did he give him in his homework? He gave him to learn participle. उन्होंने उसको participle learn करने के लिए दिया था homework में. But Franz did not know the first word of participle also. उसको participle का first word भी नहीं आता था. That's why he was frightening to go to the school, that he has become late, and he also did not prepare the homework. So when he was going to the school, what were the things which were tempting him not to going to the school? ऐसी कौन सी चीज़ें थी जब वो स्कूल के लिए बाहर निकला जो उसको अपनी तरफ टेम्प्ट कर रही थी, अपनी तरफ अट्रैक्ट कर रही थी to and rather than to go to the school, and they were tempting him to skip the school को skip करने के लिए. This is very important questions. What were the things which were tempting French to skipping the school? So these were the three things. First thing was the drill of the Prussian soldier. Prussian soldiers were drilling in the open field which was at the back side of the sawmill, and the day was warm and bright. In a winter season, when there was the brightness of the sun and warmth, and in weather there is warmth, then you will want to enjoy the sunlight, you will want to enjoy the warmth of the weather. आप उस दिन की गर्मी को enjoy करना चाहेंगे. And there were the chirping of the birds at the edge of the wood. जंगल के किनारे पर जंगल में चिड़िया चहचहा रही थी. So all these three things were tempting him not to go to the school. ये तीनों चीजें उसको अपनी तरफ attract कर रही थी. They did not going to him to the school. So but he had strength to resist temptations and hurried off to the school. But he has strength. उसके पास इतनी ताकत थी कि वो अपनी इस इच्छा को resist कर सके, दबा सके. So rather than to enjoy all of these things, he went to the school. Now what did he notice near the town hall? When he was going to school, there was a town hall, and in front of the town hall there was a bulletin board, like a notice board you can see in your schools. आप अपने स्कूल में notice board देखते होंगे. And during this COVID-19 period, you find out all types of news with the help of that notice board. आपको जितने भी न्यूज़ हैं आप कोविड-19 से रिगार्डिंग जो भी रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस हैं, आपके स्कूल से संबंधित जो भी ऑर्डर्स होते हैं, वो आपको नोटिस बोर्ड पर पढ़ने को मिलते हैं. आजकल तो हम लोग ग्रुप में मैसेज सेंड कर दिए जाते हैं. यू केम टू नो, बट एट दैट टाइम देयर वाज द सोर्स ऑफ बुलेटिन बोर्ड बाय विच द पीपल केम टू नो अबाउट द ऑर्डर्स एंड अबाउट द लॉस्ट ऑफ द बैटल्स. So what kinds of news come on that bulletin board since the last 2 years? उस बुलेटिन बोर्ड पर किस तरीके की न्यूज़ पिछले 2 सालों से आ रही थी, ये बात जो थे फ्रेंच was thinking when he was going to school. And he also noticed the crowd of the people in front of the bulletin board. वो bulletin board के सामने लोगों की भीड़ देखता है. But he did not stop there because he had become late to the school. So when he was going to the school, he was thinking about those things which he noticed from that bulletin board कि पिछले 2 सालों से कैसी न्यूज़ आ रही हैं. There are 3 types of news which are described in this chapter. First, the loss of the battles के lost होने की, and the drafts and the orders of commanding officers. These news all he get from the बुलेटिन बोर्ड. ये 3 प्रकार की न्यूज़ थी जो कि बुलेटिन बोर्ड से पिछले 2 सालों से वो देखता आ रहा था. दिस वॉज थिंकिंग बाय फ्रेंच के द्वारा ये चीज़ें सोची जा रही थी. एंड ही वॉज इन हरी ऑफ, बहुत जल्दी में था, तेजी से आगे की तरफ बढ़ रहा था. व्हेन ही वॉज गोइंग इन हरीडली, देन व्हाट हैपेंड? व्हेन ही वॉज गोइंग इन हरीड, blacksmith watcher working with his apprentice calls on. जो कि अपने you can see the picture of blacksmith with his apprentice when he was working, and he noticed, he point out to French. वो French को पीछे से आवाज लगाता है and said and what did he say? You can see the picture of French how he was going in hurry. कैसे वो तेजी से दौड़ता हुआ जा रहा है. पीछे से आवाज आती है blacksmith and his apprentice was there. What did they say? Sorry, don't go so fast, Bub. You will get to your school in plenty of time. He said Bub means boy. Means boy, no need to go so fast. इतनी जल्दी जाने की आवश्यकता नहीं है, इतनी तेजी से मत जाओ. Because you have a plenty of time to go to the school. तुम्हारे पास बहुत टाइम है स्कूल जाने के लिए. Friends thought that he was making fun of him because he had become late. Friends ने सोचा कि शायद वो उसका मजाक बना रहे हैं क्योंकि वो स्कूल को लेट हो चुका है. उस समय तक उसको समझ में नहीं आया उन्होंने ऐसा क्यों कहा. We came to know in the next scene of this chapter. So when he went near the window of his class and when he was in the garden of the school, what did he notice? There was a silence like Sunday morning and no usual commotion. There was no sound of usual things. Like what kinds of things? Like no rapping of teacher's ruler on the table, no regular bustle, no opening and closing of the desk. There was no sound of the repeating lesson in unison sound. चैप्टर्स बच्चे एक साथ दोहराते हैं ना, बिकॉज दिस वॉज अ प्राइमरी स्कूल. सो इन प्राइमरी स्कूल में यू कैन नोटिस, आपने नोटिस किया होगा या यू कैन नोटिस कर सकते हो कि छोटे बच्चों के लेसन के रिपीट करने की आवाज़ सुनाई देती है. तो इस तरीके की कोई साउंड सुनाई नहीं देती. यू कैन नोटिस द एटमोसफियर ऑफ द स्कूल जस्ट आउट ऑफ द स्ट्रीट. गली के बाहर ही आपको पता चल जाता है दैट द स्कूल इज ओपन. But that day was like a Sunday morning. There was no sound of anything else. So this was looking like a Sunday morning. There is the scene of a school. School was opening, but there was no hustling and bustling in that school. Now, what did he notice? Firstly, he thought when in this atmosphere of hustling and bustling he will enter into the class without noticing of anyone. उसने सोचा था कि इस कॉमोशन में, इस भागदौड़ में वो क्या करेगा, चुपचाप जाकर क्लास में एंटर हो जाएगा, कोई उसको नोटिस नहीं कर पाएगा. बट ऐसा नहीं हुआ. ये तो ठीक अपोजिट था. वहाँ का जो एटमोसफियर था वो एकदम शांत था. तो वह जब वो उसमें एंटर किया तो उसने क्या नोटिस किया, उसे लगा, अब उसको तो ऑब्वियसली मेन गेट से ही एंटर होना था. So Franz expected he would go out inside the class amidst commotion. Children already at their places. He noticed that the children were sitting already on their seats. And M. Hamel roaming with his terrible ruler. And M. Hamel was roaming in the class with his terrible ruler in his arms. वो अपने हाथों में उस रूलर को लिए बेचैन होकर इधर से उधर घूम रहे थे. Franz asked for permission. He asked permission, as you also take permission before entering into the class. So contradictory to his expectation, he was not being scolded for getting late. He was thinking that he will be scolding by M. Hamel for being late, but it didn't happen. लेकिन ऐसा नहीं हुआ. And when his fear has become removed, जब उसका डर जो था दूर हो गया, then he noticed M. Hamel said kindly go to your place little friends, we were beginning without you. M. Hamel ने, बल्कि जैसा उसने सोचा था उसके ठीक अपोजिट निकला. M. Hamel ने उससे कहा बहुत ही प्यार से कि जल्दी से आओ, हम तुम्हारे बिना ही चैप्टर शुरू करने वाले थे. उसके बाद जब उसका डर दूर हो गया, then what did he noticed about the classroom? We came to know in the next video. Thank you students. Have a nice day. Good morning students. I am Rajni Gehlot from Bhaurav Devras Saraswati Vidya Mandir PGT English. Now I am going to continue my chapter, the last lesson from Flamingo. This is the chapter from class 12th. So till now we came to know how Franz was surprised to see the villagers in his classroom and how he was shocked to know the announcement of Berlin by Mr. M. Hamel. Now we came to know how French was asked about participle by M. Hamel. So now this was the turn of Franz to tell about the participle. He thought that he will tell each and everything without stopping, without any mistake, but it didn't happen. लेकिन ऐसा नहीं हुआ. M. Hamel asked question Franz on participles. Franz thought that he would speak confidently. उसने सोचा था कि वो confidently बोलेगा without any mistake, but when he stood up, जैसे ही वो खड़ा हुआ, he was unable to speak a word also. वो मतलब कुछ words भी नहीं बोल पाया, and he was feeling ashamed and he was very sad and he was unable to face Mr. M. Hamel. because he don't know about the participle. वो उनको face भी नहीं कर पा रहा था. He was unable to look up and to face am Hamel, being able to speak and could not face am Hamel because he did not know about his mother tongue, about the participle. He did not prepare his homework. People of Alsek who kept learning for tomorrow will. So now in this slide, Mr. Hamel told to him that this is not his mistake. This is not only his mistake that he did not learn his language properly, and he blamed to himself and his parents also. इसके लिए वो उसके parents मतलब students के parents और अपने आप को भी blame करता है. He said why he blamed to the parents because parents prefer to put their children on field rather than to send them in school. उनके जो parents थे वो उनको स्कूल भेजने की जगह फॉर्म्स में और मिल्स में काम करने के लिए भेजना ज़्यादा पसंद करते थे, so that they can earn money for them. And he also blames himself for not taking his class seriously. He also blamed to himself because he also did not take their classes seriously. What did he do? Rather than take to their class, he sent them, the students, to water his plants and giving holidays when he wished to go for fishing. Means when he wanted to go to the fishing, he gave them holiday, and he also sent them to water his plants. अपने जो गार्डन था उसमें पानी देने के लिए बच्चों को भेज दिया करते थे rather than to learn the language. M. Hamel praises French language. Now in this video he prays to his French language. How beautiful is the French language. He said French is the most beautiful language in the world, and the clearest and the most logical language of the world. French language is most beautiful, most clearest, and the most logical language of the world. And he suggests to the people that we should guard our language, we should protect it among us and never forget it. We should never forget our mother tongue. We should always protect it. हमेशा हमें इसकी सुरक्षा करनी चाहिए. Why? Because when a people are enslaved, as long as he hold fast his language, it is as if they had key to their prison. If they know their own language, then it is like a key in a prison. प्रिजन की तरह है अगर उनकी कमांड है अपने मदर टंग पर, बिकॉज देयर मदर टंग इज द बेस्ट मीन्स फॉर एक्सप्रेसिंग themselves. Friends filled with admiration for M. Hamel. Now he was feeling very good for M. Hamel, and he said that M. Hamel taught with patience. That day he was teaching them with very patience, and each and everything taught by him was clear to M. Hamel. He was to French. He was surprised that before it he never be able to understand this language, but today each and every point of the language was clear to him. He was very surprised about it, and the reason of it was he also told it that its reason was that he was listening to him very attentively. Before it he never listened the topic so attentively, and his teacher also did not explain the topic so patiently, with so patience and so clearly. Today M. Hamel want to clear each and every point of his mother tongue to those people and students who were sitting in the class, and it seems as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away and to put it into our heads at once stop. ऐसा प्रतीत होता था कि आज वो जाने से पहले हमें एक एक चीज़ें बता देना चाहते हो, सारी चीज़ें वो हमको पढ़ा देना चाहते हो. M. Hamel brought new copies for all. Now there was the turn. And firstly he teased them about the grammar. Now this is the term of writing section. So today he brought with him some writing books, copies for all the people and the students to give it all a new start. On copies, one hand, two part, practice हैंड राइटिंग की प्रैक्टिस के लिए वो लेकर आए थे और वो सबको उन्होंने डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर दी. इट वॉज रिटन इन ब्यूटीफुल राउंड हेड. यू कैन सी एज आपने छोटे बच्चों को देखा होगा, राइटिंग उनको जब कराई जाती है तो वर्ड्स लिखे जाते हैं. जब बहुत ज़्यादा छोटे होते हैं तो लेटर्स और लाइनिंग दी जाती हैं. बट ही इज़ इन प्राइमरी स्कूल, सो वर्ड्स वर गिवन फॉर राइटिंग. व्हाट वर द वर्ड्स विच वर रिटन ऑन द पेजेस ऑफ दोज कॉपीज. उन कॉपीज के पेजेस पर क्या लिखा हुआ था इन ब्यूटीफुल राइटिंग? फ्रांस एल्सिक. एंड यू कैन इमेजिन a word like flags. It was seeming as if the flags were floating on the each and every bench of the classroom with the support of a rod. ऐसा लग रहा था कि हर बेंच पर एक रॉड से लगे हुए फ्लैग जो है वो फहरा रहे हैं. They were written so beautifully on the pages. Everyone sat to work, everything was quiet, and all of the students and villagers were so busy in writing that they did not notice the battles which entered into the class. There was the sound of only scratching of the pen on the paper. There was only silence around them. Will they make? And at that time, French thought that about Germans. That will they make them sing in German? Even the pigeon, when he listened the sound of the pigeon, they were cooed on the roof of the classroom. Then he thought that the Germans will taught the pigeon also in Germany language. They were learn them German language rather than to coot them in their own tongue. क्या मतलब वो उन पर व्यंग करते हुए कहता है फ्रेंच, क्या ये यहाँ के जानवरों और पक्षियों को भी जर्मन लैंग्वेज सिखाएंगे? हाउ लकी आर दीज बर्ड्स एंड एनिमल्स दैट दे आर नॉट फोर्स्ड बाय एनी कंट्री टू स्पीक देयर ओन लैंग्वेज. देयर वाज अ सटायर ऑन देम अपॉन जर्मन्स. फ्रेंच मॉक्स जर्मन्स एंड कैन दे फोर्स मीन्स फ्रेंच जो है उन पर मजाक करते हुए कहता है कि क्या जर्मन एनिमल्स और बर्ड्स को भी उनको जर्मन सिखाएंगे. Self-pity. France was pitying the state and the condition of the France people where they being humans were forced to change their language and words. उसको बहुत अफसोस हो रहा है कि जो फ्रांस के लोग हैं उनको जर्मनी सीखनी पड़ेगी क्योंकि वो उनके गुलाम हो चुके हैं. उनको अपनी मदर टंग त्यागनी पड़ेगी. लेकिन वो हम अपने आप से बेटर जानवर को और पक्षियों को मानता है कि कम से कम उनको तो फोर्स नहीं किया जा सकता जर्मन लैंग्वेज सीखने के लिए. वो इतने आज़ाद हैं कि वो अपनी लैंग्वेज जो है उनकी उसको यूज कर सकते हैं. ह्यूमन प्रेडिका. मैन हैज टर्न इन ह्यूमन वेयर ही वांट्स टू कंट्रोल रूल एंड टेक ओवर अदर. मैन जो है मतलब मनुष्य जो है इतना इनह्यूमन हो गया है, अनकाइंड हो गया है कि ही वांट्स टू कंट्रोल. वो सब पर कंट्रोल करना चाहता है, शासन करना चाहता है. टू टेक ओवर अदर, दूसरों पर सब मतलब जो उसके कंट्रोल में है उन सब पर अपनी विरासत बनाना चाहता है. उन सबको अपनी विरासत मानता है. जबकि बर्ड्स एंड एनिमल्स आर बेटर हु स्टिल लेट टीच ईच अदर लिव फॉर फ्री इन देयर पेरिफेरी. जबकि जानवर और पक्षी वो हमसे अच्छे हैं जो कि आज़ाद हैं. वो किसी अपनी सीमा में रहते हुए उनको कोई भी उनको रोक नहीं सकता कुछ करने के लिए. एम हैमेल फील सॉरी फॉर द लॉस ऑफ हिज कंट्री and M. Hamel was very sorry because this was last day in that school and now next day he will have to leave the country also. Not only the school, he will have to leave the country also. So I felt sorry for he had to leave. Wanted to fix everything in a gaze. And when they were doing writing, French noticed whenever he looked up, he noticed that M. Hamel was so serious and he was so still and watching each and everything very seriously. They were gazing them. It seems as if he want to keep them into their mind. ऐसा लग रहा था वो हर चीज़ को इतने बारीकी से निहार रहे थे. ऐसा लगता था कि वो सारी यादों को अपने माइंड में फीड कर लेना चाहते हों. ऑब्वियसली जो व्यक्ति वहाँ 40 साल से रह रहा है उसको अटैचमेंट तो हो ही जाता है. तो ही वॉज फीलिंग वेरी सॉरी टू लीव ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स he had planted. And what did he do in his 40 years? He had planted trees and plants in the garden. And now when they were doing writing, Hamel's sister moving in the room above the classroom. There was a room of Mr. Hamel above the classroom where his sister was moving the trunk. He was doing packing for leaving the country next day. And for must leave, and Hamel stood up very pale. Now he has become very sad, and he stood up, and his throat has choked. He was unable to speak any words, and he write in big letters, Viva la France. Hamel could not face, and because he was so emotional, he had become so emotional that he was unable to face the people and to speak any words, to say C of them. वो उनको मतलब C of B बोलने में इनकेपेबल था. तो इसीलिए उसने सिर्फ बड़े बड़े अक्षरों से बोर्ड पर क्या लिखा, Viva la France, means long live France. Thank you students. This was the last lesson of your book Flamingo. Have a nice day. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you. A very good morning students. I am Rajni Gehlot, PGT English from Bhaurav Devras Saraswati Vidya Mandir. Today I am going to teach you the chapter, the last lesson, next part of this chapter. So in the last video I told you about French, how did he entered into the class and what happened when he entered into the class. I will tell you. After being removed his fear, what did he notice? He noticed Hamel in his fine dress. So Hamel dressed differently, which he wore at the time, at the days of prize and inspection. He always wore this dress at that time. So he was surprised why he was in his fine dress. And second thing, what did he notice and why he was surprised? But what kinds of dress was of Hamel? I'll tell you. Remember it. A question always comes on this topic. How was Hamel was in his fine dress? What was his fine dress? Then he had worn beautiful green coat and frilled shirt and little black silk cap, all embroidered. He had worn a little black cap which was embroidered, जो कि कढ़ी हुई थी उसने. Okay, and other thing by which he was surprised to see in the class, that was back benches which always remained empty. They were full of by the villager, and some villagers were sitting at the back benches of the class. These seats of the class always remain empty, but today they were occupied by the villagers. And who were these villagers? They were people were sitting quietly, and they were sitting very quietly like the students, and they were very sad. And who were these people? Some people are introduced with their post, like old hussar, and in his three-cornered hat, and the former mayor, former means retired mayor, the former postmaster, and many of other except these villagers. They all looked very sad. इनके अलावा और भी गांव वाले बैठे हुए थे. ये जो तीन व्यक्ति हैं इनको डेजिग्नेशन के साथ इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया है. बाकी और भी विलेजेस थे और सारे बहुत दुखी थे. ये फ्रेंच ने नोटिस किया क्लास में, and he was surprised. They had brought their old primers, and they had an old primary book. Old primer means they have also old primary book with them. Hamel's announcement. Now there was another surprise thing, a wonderful thing for him. Means he was very surprised after the announcement of Mr. Hamel. What did he announce in the class? My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. He declared that this was not the end of the session. This was not the last lesson of the syllabus. And he declared that this was the last lesson of their French language, of their mother tongue today. Why? Because why this was the last lesson of French language? Because there was an order from Berlin that German will be taught in the school of Lorraine and Alsace. बर्लिन से एक ऑर्डर था. बर्लिन वॉज प्रूसियन कंट्री and there was an order from Berlin that German language will be taught in the school of Alsace and Lorraine are two districts of German where France where German language will be taught since tomorrow. कल से. This will be really shocked for everyone if they came to know that suddenly it will be announced that their mother tongue will not be taught since tomorrow. कल से उनको उनकी मदर टंग नहीं सिखाई जाएगी. ये सभी के लिए एकदम से शॉकिंग न्यूज़ होगी. So just like that, this was a shocking news for French also. The new master comes tomorrow. So this is your last French lesson and French class. I want you to be very attentive. Mr. M. Hamel announced in the class that because this is your last lesson of French language, that's why I want that you should be very attentive to listen this chapter. इसीलिए आप सबसे मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि आप इसको बहुत ही attentively इस lesson को सुनेंगे. So his words were like a thunderclap to French. ये जो words थे, which words were like a thunderclap? That this is the last lesson of French language and since tomorrow it is an order from Berlin that German language will be taught in the school of Alsace and Lorraine since tomorrow. These two declarations were like a thunderclap to French. This is an important question. Okay. So notice it in your notebook. What were the things which were like a thunderclap to French? French regretted for not learning. Now he was very shocked and he was regretting for not learning his mother tongue. अब उसको अपने पछतावा हो रहा था कि उसने अपनी मदर टंग को लिखना मदर टंग को क्यों नहीं सीखा था. Till now he don't know how to write properly French language. अभी तक उसको अपनी लैंग्वेज अच्छे से लिखनी भी नहीं आती थी. And now he had become deprived of his mother tongue. और अब उससे वो वंचित होने वाले हैं. My books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago. Now French told us his feeling that those books of French language which seemed to him just like a nuisance since just before some moments, कुछ क्षण पहले जो बुक्स उसको यूजलेस लगती थी एंड दे वर वेरी हैवी टू कैरी हिम. और उसको वो बहुत ही भारी लगती थी, उनको कैरी करना उसको मुश्किल होता था. आज वो while so heavy to carry my grammar and my history of science were old friends now. अब वो उसकी सब old friends बनकर रह जाएंगे. And I could not give up. So he was very sad and he was regretting for not learning his language, for not paying attention on his mother tongue. And Hamil too, the idea that he was going away, that should never see him again, made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. Now he was also very sad to know that his French teacher, Mr. M. Hamel, will not also be live in the school. They will also leave the school. They will also give up his job since tomorrow. So though he was very strict teacher, but now he was ready to forget all of his strictness and all of his cranky. He was feeling very sad about him also. Slide. So what love for their lost nation. Now we came to know about the love of the villagers and the students also about their nation and about their mother tongue. And now we came to know why the villagers were sitting in the class. friends also came to know after the declaration of that announcement which was done by M. Hamill. So he also came to know about that those watcher also, the blacksmith who pointed him out, don't go so hurry up, in hurry, and you have a plenty of time. तो उसको वो भी समझ में आ गया, अच्छा इसलिए वो ऐसा बोल रहे थे. मीन्स दे केम टू नो अबाउट दैट अनाउंसमेंट, अबाउट दैट ऑर्डर ऑफ द जर्मनी. इसका मतलब वो जान चुके थे जर्मनी के ऑर्डर के बारे में. सो एंड ही ऑल्सो केम टू नो वाई द पीपल वर सिटिंग इन द क्लास. उसको ये भी ज्ञात हो गया कि जो गांव वाले थे वो क्लास में क्यों बैठे हुए थे, विलेजर्स. सो there is need to remember these points why the people were sitting in the class. What are these 3 points? All people from village had gathered as they were sorry that they had neglected school, and to pay respect to the old master. Means the people, the villagers were sad that they neglected their school in their childhood. उन्होंने भी अपने स्कूलिंग टाइम को नेग्लेक्ट किया था अपने बचपन में. सो दे वर एक्सप्रेसिंग देयर सोरो फॉर दोज टाइम, एंड दे वांट टू पे रिस्पेक्ट टू मिस्टर एम हैमिल फॉर हिज 40 year सर्विसेज इन दिस स्कूल. और वो मिस्टर एम हैमिल को उनकी 40 साल की सेवाओं के लिए उनको सम्मान देना चाहते थे, उनको आदर सम्मान देना चाहते थे फॉर हिज 40 years फेथफुल सर्विसेज. सो एंड दे ऑल्सो वॉन्ट टू शो रिस्पेक्ट टू देयर कंट्री that was theirs no more. Now this will be the country of German. So they want to give respect to Mr. M. Hamill and also to their country. So there was the description of about France. What did he notice in the class and how he was surprised to see everything, and everything was clear to him after the announcement of M. Hamill. Thank you, students. Have a nice day.